The topic of discussion for today is histophysiology and molecular aspects of tooth development. So after discussing about molecular stages of tooth development and its root formation, it is necessary to know about various histophysiological processes that occur in tooth development along with the molecular aspects. Now let's go on to histophysiological stages of tooth development. As we know, on the basis of histophysiological process taking place, the development of a tooth can be studied under these following headings, that is initiation, proliferation, histodifferentiation, morphodifferentiation and opposition. And as we know, this process of tooth development, it is not a momentary event. So these processes, they overlap considerably except for initiation, which is a momentary event. So it is a continuous process throughout the various morphological stages of odontogenesis. So even they overlap with the morphological stages of tooth development too. So now let's look into each histophysiology. First one is initiation. So initiation of the tooth, it depends upon epithelial mesenchymal interactions. So here if we see, this is our dental lamina with underlying ectomesenchymal cells. So these ectomesenchymal cells, what they do is like they start to send few signals and growth factors to the overlying dental lamina. So these signals, they help specific cells within the dental lamina to form the enamel organ. So this is about the initiating factor. So these are the signals which are sent from ectomesenchyme to dental lamina, where dental lamina, as you can see in this picture, it started to produce a bud-like structure which is our enamel organ. So what is happening here, basically epithelial mesenchymal interactions. That means our mesenchyme, it is sending signals to the dental lamina, which is our oral epithelium, to produce a bud, that is our enamel organ. So if you see clinical considerations, if at all, what happens when there is no initiation? So there will be anodontia, that means congenital absence of all the teeth. It can be oligodontia also, where it is like lack of only few teeth. Whenever there is an abnormal initiation, that means hyperinitiation, there can be supernumerary teeth, that is extra teeth also can be there. So this is about initiation. So next is proliferation. So as we saw with an initiation, a plain dental lamina gives rise to bud-like structure like this. So what happens during proliferation is that proliferative growth causes regular changes in the size and proportions of the growing tooth germ. So that means this bud-like enamel organ undergoes proliferation to produce various morphological stages. So here it is bud, later resulting in a cap stage, and after that it will go on to become a bell stage because of proliferation of the cells within the enamel organ. So after proliferation, what happens? It is histodifferentiation. So histodifferentiation is nothing but a proliferated cell differentiating into something to produce a matrix. So what are all the formative cells which are seen within our enamel organ as well as dental papilla? That is inner enamel epithelial cells and dental papilla cells, which have proliferated till now. They undergo differentiation after differentiation, they produce the matrix. That means inner enamel epithelial cells produce enamel, whereas dental papilla cells produce dentin. How? So here is a picture of an inner enamel epithelial cell which is low columnar, which upon stimulation is turning into a tall columnar cell, that is an ameloblast. So once it is ameloblast, it gets the potency to produce enamel matrix. Likewise, a dental papilla cell also will turn into an odontoblast upon stimulation, resulting in dentin matrix. But how is the stimulation happening from this inner enamel epithelial cell to ameloblast or dental papilla cell to odontoblast? It is also an example again of an epithelial mesenchymal interaction. Why? Because our inner enamel epithelial cell is an epithelial cell, whereas our odontoblast or dental papilla cell is a mesenchymal cell. So how does they interact each other? Firstly, our inner enamel epithelial cells which are there, they stimulate the underlying dental papilla cells to turn into odontoblasts. So once they turn into odontoblasts, they get full capacity to produce dentin. So a dentin matrix is formed. So once the dentin matrix is laid upon, this matrix come in contact with the inner enamel epithelial cells and it stimulates them to turn into ameloblasts. So once they become ameloblasts, they can easily secrete the enamel matrix. So this stimulation between an inner enamel epithelial cell and a dental papilla cell is an epithelial mesenchymal interaction to produce their respective matrices. So whenever there is a vitamin A deficiency, so there will be defective ameloblasts which are produced. So whenever there are defective ameloblasts, there will be disturbed induction of odontoblasts also. So enamel and dentin matrix which is formed will be defective. So this is about a clinical consideration of histodifferentiation. So next stage in histophysiology is morphodifferentiation, wherein the morphological form and shape of the tooth are determined by the morphodifferentiation. It is also called as differential growth. So what is so important in morphodifferentiation is that there are two things, a dentino-enamel junction and a dentino-cemental junction. Why these are important? Because these are the ones which determines the shape of the crown as well as the root. So that determines the morphodifferentiation in total. So next stage in histophysiology is apposition. Apposition, it is nothing but it is the deposition of the matrix of dental hard tissues, which is characterized by alternate periods of activity and rest. So what is this matrix of dental hard tissues basically? It is our enamel, dentin as well as cementum. So this deposition of matrices of enamel, dentin and cementum, it occurs in layers, that is a alternate period of activity and rest. That means it occurs in layers. So it is a regular and rhythmic oppositional growth. So what happens if there is a disturbance and formation of in layers? It might turn into enamel hypoplasia or amelogenesis imperfecta or dentinogenesis imperfecta. These are the various histophysiological stages. Now we'll correlate the morphological stages with the physiological processes. That is, initiation, it is seen only during the dental lamina formation, whereas proliferation, it can be seen, that is proliferating cells can be seen in bud stage, cap stage and early bell stage, whereas histodifferentiation is seen in cap stage and early bell stage and sometimes during advanced bell stage. Whereas morphodifferentiation, it is seen during early bell and advanced bell stage. Opposition, that is deposition of matrices, that is seen during advanced bell stage and when there is formation of enamel and dentin matrix. So this is about histophysiology in total. Now moving on to molecular aspects of tooth development. That means so far we were talking about signals. So what are those signals we will see? Firstly, initiation. How does the epithelium or dental lamina is stimulated to produce an enamel organ? Again, it is an epithelial mesenchymal interaction. So here is our oral epithelium or our dental lamina with underlying ectomesenchymal cells. So there is a factor called as fibroblast growth factor 8 which is present within this oral epithelium. So this oral epithelium FGF8, it stimulates the ectomesenchyme to produce few factors, that is transcription factors, which are LHX6 and LHX7. They help in initiation of the oral epithelium to produce the tooth buds. So actually what stimulates the position of those tooth buds, that is a tooth has to be formed here only or here only. What initiates that? So that is about positioning of the tooth germs. So main important factor is PAX9 which we have to remember during positioning. So as such, that is our dental lamina and our ectomesenchyme, where FGF8 is present within the dental lamina. Now FGF8, it stimulates the ectomesenchyme to produce one more factor, that is PAX9. So this PAX9, it helps in positioning of the tooth germs only at particular positions like this. So these circles, they represent the future tooth buds which will be produced later on. It is future tooth buds will be produced because PAX9 is expressed only there. But why is that other areas, I mean what is happening in the other areas, because what is happening in the other areas, the tooth is not forming. Why? Because in those other areas there is another factor called as BMP2 and BMP4. They help in suppressing PAX9 there to not to produce the tooth bud. So that means PAX9, it is under influence of two factors, that is FGF8 and BMP2 and 4, that is bone morphogenic protein 2 and 4. FGF8 has a positive impact on PAX9 to produce tooth buds, whereas BMP2 and 4 has a negative impact on PAX9 to not to produce tooth buds. That means it suppresses PAX9. Other than PAX9, we have other factors like SHH and PIX2, which also stimulates dental epithelial cell proliferation. So these three, if these three factors are absent or mutated, then there will be tooth agenesis. That means anodontia can be seen. So that important is positioning of tooth germ. So after positioning of tooth germ, so tooth has been formed, but what type of tooth, whether it is an incisor or a canine, how do we tell? So that is called as tooth type differentiation. So this determination of specific type of tooth is called as patterning of dentition. So in the patterning of dentition, there are two hypotheses which are proposed to explain these different shapes by field model and clone model. Now let's look into field model of tooth type determination. So this field model, actually according to this model, factors responsible for determining the shape of each teeth will reside in ectomesenchyme. So these factors are nothing but homeobox genes, which are also called as odontogenic homeobox code. So what does this homeobox genes does? So basically, first of all, these homeobox genes, they will be different in different areas. So homeobox genes expressed in presumptive incisor region and presumptive molar region will be very much different. So how different they are? So we'll see some factors which are responsible for individual tooth. So the first factor is MSX1 and MSX2. They are seen only in the canine and incisor region. So if they are there, only incisor and canines are formed. DLX1 and DLX2 helps in canine and premolar region. BARX1 helps in molar region. So here is a picture. So wherein on the top you can see the transcription factors, right? So now let's look into each factor. So first is MSX1. If you see here, it only helps in formation of incisors, whereas MSX2, it helps in the formation of canines and premolars, whereas BARX1, it helps only in the formation of molars. So this is how each transcription factor helps in determining the shape of the tooth. This is in field model. So what happens in clone model? So according to this clone model, each tooth family, it is derived from clone of ectomesenchymal cells programmed by the epithelium to produce the teeth of a given pattern. So each tooth family, in the sense incisors, premolars, molars, like that. So each tooth family, it is derived from a clone of ectomesenchymal cells, and this is again programmed by epithelium itself. So like there is another thing called as an enamel knot. So during tooth development, we have seen this enamel knot during cap stage. It is a transient structure, and we spoke that it is like they help in giving molecular signals in tooth development. So what are those molecular signals? Basically those are BMP2, BMP4, BMP7, FGF4, FGF9 and SHH. What does these molecular signals do? They help in controlling the growth and the patterning of the tooth cusp. So this ends our discussion about both the molecular aspects of tooth development and also about the histophysiology of tooth development.
Thank you everyone for your patient listening, and all the best.
For more videos and notes, stay connected to India's largest dental networking app, Baybone.